is for all those guys. There's a ton of them out there that are like me, that have won here and all these great short tracks around here. We can do it. We just need the opportunities. Today proved it. Yeah, it's a short track, but it's still damn hard to win here, and we did it.
They are hometown heroes, drivers who put their passion on the line in front of their friends.
Here we go, 3 wide, got Sellers up into marble.
Halfway home in this one. Off turn 4, he heads for the checkered flag.
Side by side, Von Dorn across the line first.
Here comes Riggs. Riggs is back at it on the inside.
Buckle up and hold on tight.
Time now to focus the spotlight on hometown heroes with this week's Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap. Brought to you by the NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series. Driving local racing in local communities forward.
Peyton Sellers trying to win this race for the first time in his career. They are beating and banging off turn 2. Peyton Sellers in turn 3, looking for the win off 4.
Down off of turn number 4. Finally, it's going to happen. Peyton Sellers has defeated the Valley Star Credit Union 300. Your new champion, Peyton Sellers.
Well, this victory lap on this episode of Wind Tunnel has been long in the making. Our guest is Peyton Sellers, who has visited and taken victory laps before, but his resume was missing one thing until 2 weeks ago, and that was a major event at Martinsville Speedway, the Valley Star 300, and a grandfather clock. He's won national titles. He's won track championships. He's won major events. But Peyton, for 15 years, you had cars that you and your brother prepared that went to victory lane like one season ago, but you were shut out. Tell me how important and how satisfying it was to finally take that grandfather clock home.
Jack, it meant a lot, and I'll be honest with you, I appreciate you having me on today. But Martinsville a couple of weeks ago, that was such a big night for me and my family and everybody involved. 20 years ago, Clarence Pickerel at Clarence's Steakhouse came on board with us and said, let's go racing. And it took a lot of tries to get in victory lane at Martinsville, but you're right. We had a couple grandfather clocks sitting around the shop there from Philip Morris and Landon Pemberton last year. And to go in the shop every day and see those other guys' clocks was definitely all the motivation I needed. But that one had always eluded us. We had led, I tell everybody, we had qualified on the pole. We had led halfway. We had led the most laps. We'd even led the last lap, but never took the checkered flag there. So it was such a weight lifted off of us for sure. And to do it with my brother crew chiefing, my dad spotting for me, was just a total family thing for us. And big night for us. We came up a little short in the national points this year, finishing second, and to go right to Martinsville the week after that and be able to get that grandfather clock, everything just kind of came full circle for us.
Yeah, I think they call that all the stars aligning. But let's go back to that for just a second, because after Dominion Speedway and their twins, everybody thought that you had squeezed by Layne Riggs to take the championship. It was only after. So you leave the Speedway, you and your team thinking you've scored your third national title. But then the audit by NASCAR discovers a miscalculation in the aggregate points total. So you rode a roller coaster to the very top, to the very bottom. But in the end, is it worthwhile to see that grandfather clock and hear it chiming in your shop? Does that change the way you look at losing the title as close? And it was a great contest between you and Layne all season long.
It was. It came right down to the last night, to the last race, basically. And, we thought we had left there tied in points with the tiebreaker. Well, then NASCAR has an audit and we came up short. It's very frustrating because they found a driver from a month before that didn't have a license or something. I don't know. I don't follow it. To be quite honest with you, you got to get it right going into the last weekend. When you've got two guys racing for the national title, as close as we were, you've got to get it right. And that's all it boils down to. But hey, I'm focused on Martinsville, bringing that clock home. We won the Virginia Triple Crown the same night. And a Triple Crown is a combination of the best points between South Boston's big 200 lapper, 4th of July night, and then the Hampton Heat over at Langley, which is a 200 lapper, and Martinsville. So we accumulated more points for that and won it. Went into the Triple Crown, the final night at Martinsville, tied for 6th with Bobby McCarty. Didn't even think we had a shot at it. We ran second at South Boston. We struggled a little bit at Langley, tied for sixth, went into the final night. When they came on the stage with the trophy and the check, I said, guys, let me get out of your way. I don't know who won it, but we'll get out of your way for you. They said, no, you won it. I could not believe it. So that's a really special thing for all the guys around Virginia and North Carolina, because a lot of guys compete for that every year. There was probably 20 guys that raced for the Triple Crown this year that run all 3 races. So big opportunity for me. And to be able to have that grandfather clock now, you're right. It seals off a lot of things in my racing career that now we've done everything in late model stock racing that we could.
I want to go back 20 years ago when Clarence Pickerel approached you, because I think a lot of fans probably don't realize that not only is Martinsville your home track, Clarence Estate is just down the road. Danville is, I always call it a suburb of Martinsville, but I guess it should be the opposite way around. So winning the way you did after chasing it for 15 years and delivering that victory, because Clarence is a racer through and through and just absolutely proud as a peacock, I'm sure. And then to do it in a Paul Radford throwback paint scheme, it's just like all the stars aligned.
You're 100% right. To keep that clock in Ridgeway, their restaurant is only 2 miles down the road, down Martinsville. Clarence came on board with me as that first rookie driver 20 years ago. And I won a national championship in 2005. I went on and done some other stuff for several years while he had Philip Morris drive the car. Philip actually came to our shop and drove one of my cars first before taking over the sponsorship for 5 or 6, 7 years while I was out doing other things. Well, when we got back together, we picked right up where we left off. We were able to win some races and some championships. And Martinsville was always that unicorn. Martinsville was that unicorn we couldn't catch, and but here we are, in Victory Lane 2 weeks ago. You're right, with an orange throwback to kind of Paul Radford there. And it was just such an amazing night to have our sponsors. We've had Danville Toyota for just as long as we have Clarence's. A lot of guys have been with us forever, a lot of crew members, and it just really everything aligned perfectly. The race went a lot of green flag racing. So we had a green, white checkered, and we had a caution with 7 to go, which made me nervous, but I knew we had a good short run car. And we had ran first or second for 150 laps. So I knew we had speed. I knew we had track position, but you got to bank on the guy not taking you out or making a cheap shot on you at Martinsville, where everybody knows what can happen at Martinsville. And Carson Quapple was on my bumper going into the green, white checkered, driving Dale Jr.'s car. He got to me. He laid the bumper to me a little bit, but he didn't get rough with me. And that's true racers. That's what it's all about. And he got out in Victory Lane and said, I wasn't going to wreck you for it. I know what it meant to you. I knew that you had ran good all night. So to see the kind of sportsmanship that he showed, to see the race have as much green flag racing as it wasn't a crash fest. I don't think they had but 2 or 3 cautions for wrecks. And it was just spin outs. Nobody crashed extremely hard. So, it told me that short track racing is headed in a good direction right now. They had 93 cars show up for that race, and it paid $32,000 to win. I mean, that's a huge night for short track racing. It was live on Flow TV. It was live on MRN. Postman, all those guys were there calling the race. So to see that kind of support for Martinsville Speedway and to be able to go to Victory Lane, I had people texting me and calling from all over the country. So it really meant a lot.
I'm glad you brought up the quality of competition, but also the way the race unfolded, because there's always that potential recipe for disaster. Have spent a lot of time, not only here, but on Sirius XM NASCAR, debating the young driver's approach to racing, where they'll just lean on you. They're just they want the spot. And I know you and your brother and your dad and Sellers Racing and the young drivers like Landon, that you take under your wing. That's not the way you train them to race. It looks as if it's paying off, not only the work that you're doing, but that maybe, do you think we're changing the racing culture a little bit?
So I would like to think yes, and I do feel like it is. I think that NASCAR kind of having the let them go guys approach to letting guys race and wreck and things is probably not good for the young kids coming up. They think, hey, that's what you got to do. You got to wreck the guy for the win. Well, at the end of the day, I'm a short tracker like so many out there that work on their own cars all week, that put them together and have to fix them to go back to the track the next week. I think if the younger kids had to work on them a little more, I think there would be a higher respect level there for sure. But seeing how the racing has gotten better, and you know, there was no points on the line. It was nothing but money on the line for that race at Martinsville last week. So to see that respect level be where it was. Jacob Hefner also run fourth in the race the other night, and he had the same amount of respect. He could have dove in there and made something happen as well. It was just a good, clean race, and that's all I can say about it. I would like to think that the younger kids are having more respect, but we don't see it on a weekly show that often. You see guys making bold moves, but it was a breath of fresh air to see it this past week.
Look, that'll come. It trickles down. That'll come. And as long as there's cats like you that continue to be so willing to teach them too, because look, how many times have you lost that Martinsville race because of your teammates and how good they're running? So that's why I watched the entire 200 laps, and I knew it was going to be your night when in one of the stage breaks, you said, it's gonna get wild now. I could see that killer instinct. You had to suppress the smile. And then I saw your brother talking to you. I said, this is a home run. Break out that Ridgeway clock. It's going home to Danville. Hey, I couldn't be happier for you, Peyton. And thanks so much yet again for taking a victory lap here on Wind Tunnel.
It means a lot. Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to the Advance Auto Parts Victory Lap, brought to you by the NASCAR Advance Auto Parts Weekly Racing Series, driving local racing in local communities forward.